Professor Nwaokobia, once more, welcome to Njenje Media TV.
The pleasure is mine.
On Monday this week, the former EFCC chairman, Nwaokobia, told Nigerians that they met an empty treasury, that is Chief Tinubu's government. Yet, no prosecution, no pathway. Are you surprised that an APC government is accusing another APC government of destroying the country, the treasury, looted it dry from a president who only mantra was to fight against corruption? Yet, there is no prosecution from the current government.
I'm not surprised. Not in the least surprised. I'm thinking that, and I say this without fear of querulous critics, that it's coming late. When you have nothing to do, when you don't know what to do, when you don't know the way out of morass, when you don't know how to solve a problem, you blame either the problem or your implement. I'll give you a practical instance. They say a lazy workman blames his tools. That's the tragedy of our country. You remember when in 2015, Muhammad Buhari took over from Jonathan? All they did for almost 1 year was to blame and blame and blame Jonathan, and our country got into recession. We got into recession 2 years after again because the ability to get the country working was distant. As you and I talk, clearly, I have said that this government must sit down, wear its thinking cap, and proceed to fix our country rather than pander to the gallery, rather than what I call the tendency for populism. They should set out policies that will address the challenges of our nation. But unfortunately, and then you ask yourself, from who? A man who should be busy advising government on security, national security advisor. All that the APC does is try to politic with everything that affects our country. It was propaganda and political propriety and political pronunciations that they traded on our political amphitheater the whole of 8 years under Muhammad Buhari. And then unfortunately they've forgotten that the past 8 years was under an APC administration. That's how bad it is. So instead of cutting Buhari some slacks, instead of understanding that the party must fix Nigeria, instead of understanding that it must be about policy and progressivism, they are still pandering to the contours and confines of populism. But let me say clearly here that Nigerians are not excited about the defense. It's a weak and a lame defense. It's the most annoying and sordid defense to make. When you were running for presidency, you should know how much your party has in the coffers and what you were going to do once sworn into power. So I think that what the president must do is to call Nwaokobia to order. What the party must do is to sit back and look at how to fix the challenges of our nation. And I've said on a national platform that all the defenses are not necessary. Njenje, let me say clearly here that with the amazing munificence and riches ineffable that God Almighty has given to our country, you have no reason to be running around the world begging for funds and investments. Like what, as you and I talked, happened a few days ago. Our president jumps to Saudi Arabia, a competitor. Don't forget that Nigeria is supposed to be in OPEC, and Saudi Arabia is
Also
an opponent.
OPEC, yeah.
To you want Aramco to come and fix your refineries so you don't have to buy through them or their partners. Who does that? Who runs to his enemy to say, please help me, solve my problems? But that's how bad it has become. That rather than sit down, wear your thinking cap, and fix Nigeria, face our problems head on. People are politicking with it. I don't want to hear about how much Buhari left. We know that that government told us about how willing to fight corruption it was, but unfortunately, after 8 years, that government, who can be adjudged as the most corrupt in our recent historicity, and that's by the way, he failed and he knows he failed. Those who defend Buhari's administration do that for either partisan interest or bigotic interest. But as I talk to you, what is important here is the fact that the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu regime or administration will rise to the urgency of now. And that is address the fundamental issues of taking our country away from poverty to promise. And some of us, if I'm permitted to drive this vehicle a bit, I've told people I have a social media handle that says that I should pretend the office of a shadow president. And I've said clearly that if you have challenges of the dwindling or the weakening or the sickening strength of the naira, it's simple. You want to fix it, you make sure you attract foreign resources into our country. And how best and how easy can that be done? This country has well over $300 billion. Several frontiers and fronts in this country. And even within, that's how bad and how sad the unwillingness of this administration. You don't go around the world asking for $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion when you have so much. Between government, the central bank, the NFIU, the EFCC, you have well over $200 billion to appropriate and stabilize not only the currency but drive the economy. And I've said clearly, and I'm saying it again, that we are available to help the government do that if it's serious. Because for me, as the convener of the Country First movement, what drives my passion is the betterment of the masses of our people. I may not like the present administration, but I don't hate Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I may not like the APC, but I don't hate Nigerians. I may not like the way they have raised perfidy and mendacity to an instrument of state, but I love my country. And there's several ways to get about fixing this country and making sure that our naira rises again and making sure that our economy grows. And one of the ways I've said, and I'm saying again, is the fact that as I talk to you, Njenje, as I talk to you, you have between Nigeria, China, and the NNPC Limited, you have well over $4.8 billion, which is the outcome of $48 million of our Bonilla crude oil that was stolen and stored in a facility in China and sold. As you and I talk, a court order, there's a valid court order to that effect, asking the group CEO of NNPC Limited to disclose the whereabouts of the funds and cause that funds be repatriated to our national treasury. As you and I talk, there's a $26.5 billion between MTN, Standard Chartered Bank, Citibank, and several others that the CBN, under the immediate past governor of the CBN, had several fictitious importation license. They had these funds repatriated to accounts across the world. And Nigeria has the right to those funds. As you and I talk, there's several billions. Respected senior advocate of Nigeria, Chief Femi Falana, did talk about 50 million barrels of crude oil that was taken to America, sold in America with records. But you know what? That's how sad it is. That same crude oil sold in America does not have records. We're not talking about 5 million barrels.
Yeah.
We're talking about 50 million barrels. You don't have records of it in Nigeria, but you have records of the sale in the United States of America.
So
that's how much of roguery. That's how tragic it's been. But you know what? Interestingly, The foreign buyers, because they will ask questions, know that this product came out of Nigeria. Unfortunately, this administration, instead of addressing the fundamentals, have gone up borrowing. And he who goes a borrowing goes a popular cliche, goes a sorrowing. And so I think that the time has come for our government and indeed those who should pretend not only our economy, those who should pretend our country to wake up to the urgency of now. We do not criticize government because we hate government. We do not oppose government because we hate those who should pretend government. We criticize government because we want the best for our country. So between you and I, between government and the different agencies of government that are supposed to ensure that our funds, you have several agencies of government, even at the Senate level, at the House of Representative level, at the office level of the office of the Chief of Staff of the President, the office of the President. You have agencies and people who are responsible for recovery of our funds, who are available to help them find these funds and get our economy back on track. That's exactly what we're talking about. It is not about uh, going from one part of the world to the other. Who do you think loves you more than they love themselves? You know,
Prof,
the Europeans will not help you. Americans will not help you. Arabs will not help you. All they want is the interest of their own people. What we're talking about is Africa helping its people. We must look inwards and drive the economy and ensure that we build an African economy that is self-surviving, self-sufficient, and self-sustaining.
many are questioning why would that statement actually come from Nehu Ribadu, who is the NSA, National Security Advisor. So he's not the CBN governor, he's not the Minister of Finance, he's also not the Economic Financial Crime Commission head. Now, but many would then ask, why do you run to govern, if at every slightest opportunity you're telling them that you met an empty treasury? Are they not expecting to have met, or didn't they know that there was an empty treasury? What was it that they promised Nigerians to fix? Do you think that, that on its own shows a government that is not serious?
Now, let me say clearly that the tragedy of our nation is the fact that people who are not ready to govern find themselves in the saddle. That's the tragedy of our nation.
Because
And most
they,
embarrassingly is the fact that rather than address issues that are fundamental to national security, like you noted, Nuhu Ribadu steps in the fray uh, to perhaps act as a spokesperson of the CBN governor, to perhaps act as a spokesperson of the Economic Financial Crime Commission, the EFCC, to perhaps act as a spokesperson of the Office of the Vice President, who should be the head of the economy. And that's the tragedy of our country. People not knowing when to keep quiet. And in trying to defend the office of president, he has made a fundamental fox power. What is important is for Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his team, the president and his team, to tell Ribadu to face issues of our national security. Well, he has a lot to contend with. He has a lot to contend with in the area of protecting the masses of our people and ensuring that terror and villainy, banditry and brigandage are dealt with. That should be his forte. And you know what? What bothers the carapace of my mind even more is the fact that he's taking us back the same trajectory of 2015 when for 6 months all we had was a blame game. They told us about how Jonathan wasted our resources, how Konjo-Iweala warned that things were going to get bad. And you ask yourself, why did you campaign for leadership if you were unprepared? I think that the time has come for Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration to tell Nigerians that they are prepared to govern and tell those who are in government with them to fix their fortes and deal with issues that pertain their ministries and department. Whilst those who should be talking about the economy deals with the issues about the economy. What is important today is that now that the Naira is on a free fall, the CBN rises to the challenge. What is important today is for government to note that now that the prices of goods and services are going up the scale, that they are address the fundamental issues of economy. What is important is for government to reassure people that they can fix the challenges of our nation and address these issues frontally. I have said and I'm repeating that there are those who otherwise are considered enemies of government who have several solutions to these problems. This government must calm down its high horse and engage with these people. Let's talk about how to make the economy great again. Let's talk about how to recover the billions of our resources that are held everywhere across the world. Let's talk about how to fight corruption and ensure that the whistleblowers everywhere are engaged in moving this country forward. Let's talk about how we'll make leadership at every level responsible and responsive to the people. Let's talk about how we deploy our collective patrimony for the good of the country. That's what is important, not about these blame games or no blame games. And then, interestingly, on the jocular side, I'm actually waiting to hear what Gaba Mohammed, Gaba Shehu, will say about this FOPA of Nuhu Ribadu. I wait because I'm interested in seeing what they do with it. How this party, the All Progressive Congress, may just decide to engage in a dance macabre, a dance of shame. I believe that the time has come for us to put country first and stop this dramaturgy.
Thank you.